So, hello everybody. My name is Rob Terry. I work in TDR um, as the Manager of Research Policy. And in this short talk, I want to talk about the use of Orcid IDs, which is a unique identifier for researchers. It's something that we require the researchers we work with to have, but it's a very useful tool for linking you with your research outputs. So what does Orcid stand for? Well, Open Research and Contributor ID. So what is an ORCID? Well, it's a number, and what it does is it provides that unique and persistent identifier that links you and your published works. It's a free to use resource, and it lasts throughout your career. It's something that a number of journals, including the one that we will be submitting to in this after this sorted course, and a number of funders, NIH, Gates Foundation, Wellcome, also require you to use an ORCID ID. And that's because it actually creates an online presence for you, brings together all of your where you work, your institutions, the organizations where you've been working, and the research outputs, and puts them together in what I like to think of as like a digital CV. The benefits of this is that it gives you a unique presence, even this, separating you from other researchers who share the same name, and it allows all of your research outputs. So yes, that's research papers, but it could include conference posters or PowerPoint presentations that you've given at conferences if they've been recorded, and they can all be put onto the same site. And it will allow you to share those with others, improving your discoverability and recognition. And the ORCID record is yours and it's free forever. So why do I need an ORCID? Well, this handsome fellow is myself, the TDR Manager of Research Policy. However, if you go on Google and search for Rob Terry, you will find there are many, many other entries, including this fine fellow, who happens to be a wrestler and bodybuilder. And I can assure you, he is not me. And so by using an ORCID ID, we can avoid the unfortunate use of the wrong photo in conference proceedings, for example. ORCID, it's a not-for-profit. It has a very excellent website. Here are the links to the website where you go and create your ORCID ID. It gives you lots of support for how you then use it, how you link your research, and a number of other articles. And I would say the best thing to look at first is this very professional video that's on YouTube, which explains ORCID. Use this link here, and you can really get an understanding and an overview very quickly as to what it is. We're going to go through a live example using RF Terry. That's me, not the wrestler. And I'll show you very quickly some of the features of ORCID. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention something in case it doesn't come up throughout the sorted course before. I was interested in using an image for ORCID ID that I didn't have to seek permission for, and it was perfectly okay to put into a PowerPoint. And so you may or may not be aware, you can actually do this if you use, say, Google as a search engine. Under the tools section on the right hand side, if you click on that, you get a whole range of different options you can use. And one of them is usage rights. And I always tick the Creative Commons license. Now, what that means is what you're looking at is now free to reuse. Sometimes they require you to attribute the source, but they don't require you to seek any further permission. So it's a very helpful tool if you're looking for images, documents, and articles. Which are free, and then particularly if you wanted to look for an image that you wanted to put into, say, a PowerPoint that's going into a public conference, and you want to be okay that you're able to use it. So if we now go back, we're going to have a look at my profile, and I'll just very quickly highlight some of the features. So what I'm going to do is just share my ORCID ID screen, and hopefully this will change over quickly. So here we have my private screen that only I can edit and use. And this contains data that I've put onto the profile. Now, the first thing to notice is these three settings on the right-hand side. The default setting is everything is locked. Until you release it, nobody else can see it. Or you can choose to release it to only some selected people, or you can make it open to everybody. And to be honest, in my professional career, everything I do is in the public domain, so I tend to use that function the most. Over here, this is the Orcid ID, the digital identifier, and that's mine. It's unique, and I can use it in all these other ways. I can put it on other sites, so I've put it on my LinkedIn site, and also on my Twitter account, and so forth. Here is an interesting feature about also known as. So over the years, I've published as Robert Terry, Robert F. Terry, Terry RF, RF Terry. And if I put all those things into this section here, when I do subsequent searches from Orcid, it searches all those author names. So you only have to do that once. If we go down, you can see, like I said, it is a digital CV. So very short biography at the top there, my employment history at WHO and Wellcome and others, Royal Society, some of my education, and then some other activities that I do. So I chair this committee on data access. But the important thing, I think, for today is works. Now, works is what Orcid calls any of your published output. So particularly your research papers, but it can also be other things such as conference posters, a presentation, or even these days, I've given talks online which have a URL, and so I can also put up things like podcasts and the like. It's very easy. So as you can see, I'm an academic person, so I don't have a huge number of papers here, but what I have produced is all in this one place, and others can access it. I tend to favor using open access references wherever possible, and I always publish in open access as much as I can. And so these links here to the full text of the article, and others can actually get your articles should you wish to. And as I said, I can actually use this material and place it into a funding application for certain funders, which saves me time. Now, how do I get my papers onto this site? Well, you've got this function here called add works, and there are three ways. One is to add manually, and then you have to know the title of your article. You have to have access to the URL, the website, the web page where it is hosted, and then you can enter the data such as who is the publisher and so forth. You may have all that perhaps in a bibtext file, which is the sort of file you use when you download a citation, and so you can import a bibtext file. Or, and I think this is definitely the most easy way of doing it, you can search and link papers. So if we just click on that, what this then brings up is the main publication databases which are integrated with Orcid. So different parts of the world. I would say probably the ones that are most likely to cover what we do will be found either in Europe PubMed Central, which is a mirror site of the National Library of Medicine. I use it because it's fully integrated with Orcid, and it has more functionality than PubMed and PubMed Central. Or you may want to use, say, Scopus, the Elsevier site. Now, even though that is a subscription website, for the purposes of identifying papers, you can access the site and bring them onto your Orcid profile. So the difficulty is I'm pretty much up to speed with everything, so it's going to be hard for me to find a paper that I haven't done, but I'm just going to show you anyway. So if I click on Europe PubMed Central to search, what it does is it takes the search terms that I've already entered into my Orcid site. Slowly, here we come. And it then says you now need to select your publication. So I just going to get rid of that agree the cookies. So if I now press continue, what I should get is a list of all papers that it thinks are authored by R.F. Terry, Robert F. Terry, Terry R.F., or Terry R. And I have to say, because I'm a little bit up to date, already you can see this article has already been linked to your ORCID already. What may happen is, what you'll find in the first instance is you'll see a lot of grayed out boxes, and then you just click on them. And then as soon as you've selected all of those that are appropriate to you, you then send to ORCID. Now, for me, as I said, because I've done this fairly recently, it hasn't added any new articles to ORCID, but for you, it will then add those articles to ORCID. When you then go back to ORCID, your publication list will then appear here. And as I said, the only thing you then need to do next is to think about who you want to see this. So the default setting is only me. So you would then need to go through and make it open either to everyone or trusted parties. And then you now have a wonderful digital CV. So it has all your work up there and so forth. One of the things that occasionally happens is because research papers appear in more than one place, you may have something appearing twice. So this article was in BMJ Global Health, but it also was picked up from PubMed Central. Now, because it is the same publication, so one of the little tricks you can do just to tidy things up is if you click those two papers, they're the same resource, and then you go to the top and you can combine them into one record. I'm not going to do it now because I will do it in the live demonstration tomorrow, but then you tidy up your CV. So there you go. I hope you find that useful, and if you have any need for any assistance, either have a look at the website itself and the resources that are there. Otherwise, contact me directly and we can talk through it. So as I say, I hope that was useful, and thank you very much.